front part, and this is how it's looking like. See, and this is the back part of it. So what I'll be doing now will be minusing for my off shoulder. Okay, so what we'll be doing now is I'll mark 4 inches from my shoulder line. This is my shoulder area. I'll just come down by 4 inches here. So I'll mark it out. Just folded into it into two, and I marked 4 inches. I'll just draw a straight line there. Okay, so I wouldn't want to leave it straight like this. I want it to have a little curve. So I'll just come down here by 1 inch. That's from the 4 inches. I'll still come down 1 inch on the center area. So I'll connect from this point to meet up with the 1 inch here, just like this, to give it a little curve. Just to create a little curve on the center front. So this is how it will look like. Okay, after coming down by 1 inch. Okay, now we'll cut this out. Just cut it like this to meet up with the 4 inches we created up there. Okay, so this is what I will be having. So it's not really a sweetheart neck, it's just having that little fine design. So I'll do same thing, repeat same process on the back part, but this time around it won't be having a curve. Right side facing each other. This is one part of the back. This is my zipper allowance. So I'll just place this on it. Then I'll just mark 4 inches and I'll cut it straight. The back will be straight. Just repeat same process. I'll just come down by 4 inches here, 4 inches here. Then I'll connect it in a straight way like this. So the back is going to be straight. You don't need actually need any curve here. Okay, so this is it. This is the back part. So what I'll be doing next is to use my lining to turn both the front and the back. Then I'll use my bias. Before turning this with the lining, I'll use my bias to design on it. So after that, I'll just use my bias to design the front part before turning with the lining. I'll design this front with the bias first before turning it with the lining. I'll just do it exactly how it is on the picture, the number of bias and how it's fixed on it. So this is the black bias I'm using. So on my bobbin, I'll be reeling a purple thread because I don't want the black thread to be underneath it. So I'll just fix it. You can also use the black thread since you've not lined it. Then on it to be the black thread. So I'll be marking the lines where I'll be inserting my bias. So before my sewn line, I'll just mark here like this, ½ inches before my sewn line. You can just be creative and just fix it wherever you want to, but just ensure you're having 5 lines of bias. So this is one. So I'll just mark 2 inches away from there and put another, or 2.5 inches. 2.5 inches. I'll put another bias there. I'll also mark it downward. 2.5 inches. I'll connect the line like this together. Then on the midpoint, that's the center of my center front, I'm just folding it into two to get the midpoint of it because I'll be having one there as well. So I'll also mark that area. Point. I'll also mark where I will fix one bias strip. This is just a creative something. You can fix it whichever way you want to. So I'll just mark that side as well. Then we'll also fix before the line, ½ inches or 1 inch before the line. I'll connect it like this. Then 2 inches after the line, 2.5 inches, sorry. I'll mark that as well. 2.5 inches. So I'll just connect, and that's how I'll fix it. Okay, on these lines is where the bias is going to sit. So what we'll be doing now, I believe you are familiar with how to fix a bias. So I'll just give you a hint on that. So I'll just open it up like this. You can see it's having a line, a mark line. On that line, the folded line, it has created already. You sew on it, then you flip it over. When you sew on it for, you open it this way and sew on the inner line, then you flip it over and match on it again. That's how I fix the whole five. This is how it's looking after I finish fixing my bias. You can see. And this is the back part. That's why I said I advise you fix your bias before you line. I'll trim out all this thread I'm having here. It's better you fix your bias in order to have a neat work, and so that you just use your lining to turn over the neckline. So after fixing the bias, you can use your lining now to turn over the neckline, and your work will be looking very neat and beautiful. So right now, I'll just use my lining to turn it and give this a good press so it can relax very well. Okay, I've attached the front part. You can see how it's looking very beautiful. So what I'll be doing now, sorry I'm supposed to do this before turning with my lining, but nevertheless, it doesn't really matter. I'll be folding it into two like this. Then I'll take my shoulder measurement minus 2. The shoulder I worked with was 16 inches, divided by 2 was 8 inches. So that 8 inches minus 2 will give me 6 inches. So I'll just mark 6 inches and trim off the excesses I'm having. So I'll mark 6 inches here like this. So you always minus 2 inches for your shoulder measurements if you are working with an up shoulder. If you are doing an up shoulder, then I'll just connect it like this. Sorry about my chalk. So I'll just connect it this way. I'm supposed to do this before turning with lining and pasting my patches, but it's still fine. So I'll be trimming here off. I'll do same thing with the back part to make it the same. You minus 2 inches from your shoulder measurement and you trim off. You're working for an off shoulder. So that's it. So I've just trimmed it off and this is it. Okay, if you measure your chest line, you see that it is accurate. So that's just it. Now I will just turn my lining with the lower part. I'll use the lining to turn the lower part, then iron it. I'll turn the zipper side, the both side, the lower part, and I will leave the waistline because that's where I'll be attaching to the dress. Okay, I'm shaping the dress using the body measurement, and you can see how it's looking. This is the front part. This is how my bias came out. Um, I believe you can see it very well. So I just use the body measurement to shape in my short dress. You can make this a long dress, it's just based on preference and your fabric you have, the quantity of fabric you have. So right now I'll be attaching the sleeve to it. What I will do now is to cut a 1 inch band, just 1 inch, and make ruffles at the upper part of the cap area of my sleeve, just like I'm just trying to illustrate. You just make ruffles along this area and attach your 1 inch band. To get your 1 inch band, you measure the round shoulder. Since it will be kind of a little bit off, you measure the round shoulder where you want it to be. Then you measure the roundness of your dress. For instance, what I'm having here is 11 inches, and the back as well is also 11 inches. So 11 plus 11 will give me 22 inches. What I'm having here is 22 inches and my round shoulder is 38 and a half. So when you minus subtract 22 from 38 and a half, what you'll be having next is 16 and a half. And that 16 and a half, you divide it into two for both sleeve. That's each sleeve will be having 16 and 8 and quarter, 8 and quarter. So I'll cut 8, approximately 10 inches because of my seam allowance. I'll cut 10 inches long 1 inch strip and make ruffles on it. So I just got my satin because I'll be using the satin to do the band. Okay, so what I'll do now, I'll mark 1 inch. Just place your tape and mark 1 inch. 1 inch. It's just a tiny band. 1 inch. 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch. So I'll cut this out. Okay, so this is my 1 inch strip. So I'll just fold it this way. You can as well make it 1.5. I'm just trying to illustrate on it. So I'm supposed to make 1.5 because of my seam allowance. So I'll just place it back like this and add ½ inch extra to it. Just trying to illustrate on it. So 1.5 inches. Okay, this is 1.5 inches. So this is 1.5 inches. What we're doing now, fold it into two like this. Then I'll match on it. I'll match on it straight to the end. Then I'll bring my sleeve. So I'll just gather it on this piece. Okay, so this is it. Just put it into two. So what we're doing next is just make ruffles on it. I'll place it on the main sleeve. Just make ruffles on it. Okay, I've made my ruffles on it. So what I'll be doing now is to cut a band which will be 8 inches long. Mind you, when cutting this kind of sleeve, you don't have to cut it to your exact sleeve length because it's a puff sleeve. You can as well push it up so that the puff can gather or it make it more puffy like that. So you have to make it a little bit longer, like 2 inches longer than your actual measurement. So I'll cut an 8 inches band for it, including seam allowance. I'll use my Ankara to cut the band. I'll make my ruffles along this edge and I'll fix the band on it. So let's go ahead to that. So this is the Ankara I'll be using at the edge of the sleeve, the pencil sleeve, which is 8 inches long and 10 inches wide because my along my elbow area is 10 inches. Just use the accurate measurement to measure the sleeve. And I'll be fixing an invisible zip here because I want it very firm. So I'll be fixing an invisible zip at the joint area, the joining area. So it will enable me to be able to wear and pull it. And I want it very fitted. In order for me to be able to wear it, I have to put an invisible zip. So that's how it's going to be. Okay. I just sewed the edges round and turned it over. I used my Ankara to turn it over. So right now, what we'll be doing next is to place our satin on it, right side facing each other, and make ruffles with our satin on the Ankara. So my wrist measurement here is 6.5. So I'll just divide the 6.5 into 2 to get 3.25. I'm using the exact measurement because there'll be an invisible zipper here. I said that earlier on. And my elbow measurement, which is this joint area, is 10.5 inches. Divide by 2 will give me 5.25. So I'll also mark exact that measurement there, 5.25. Then I'll connect. On the line I created, I'll fix an invisible zip. Okay, so you can see where I marked. My zip will sit here, and that's how it will be. So for now, that's all. I'll show you guys the finishing part of my video. It's just to attach the sleeve to the dress, and that's just it. Just attach both edge and fix invisible zipper. You just repeat same process on the second sleeve, and that's all. Very simple and nice.